to turn on the record. And Jen, let me know if there are any issues. And welcome everyone to today's webinar. And we're going to be doing similar to what we did last time. I have actually taken the notes in Evernote. So you're going to get some great techniques today on how to sell difficult listings. And the cool thing about it is I've done all your note taking for you. So all you have to do is just listen, sit back, digest the tips that you like best, try to kind of figure out how you'd present them in your own way. And then if you would like to have all of my notes from today, which you're going to see on the screen, because I'm going to be doing some screen share. I'm going to be flipping back to me and then doing some screen share back and forth. And you'll see those notes there. Those are already ready to go. They're in a program that I love called Evernote. And you may have all of those notes, and you simply need to email Jen, J-E-N-N, at realestatemaverics.com. And Jen, I don't know if you knew that I was going to do that, but you're in charge of distributing notes. So Jen, J-E-N-N, at realestatemaverics.com. And all the notes from today's webinar will be yours. So let's get it rocking. And we're going to start with let me talk to you before I do the screen share. This is about how to sell difficult listings. And to me, I don't know how there could be a more impactful short webinar, 30 minutes or less, other than how to list property. But really, there are a lot of similarities to being a rock star lister and understanding how to sell listings. And whether they're difficult listings or easy listings, the strategies that you'll use in selling listings to a large part are the strategies you're going to use to list property. For example, I'll be talking today about pre-marketing, pre-MLS marketing of homes. I mean, anyone who does not pre-MLS market homes, that is, have a strategy like what I teach, my 29-day home launch formula, or the 11-day shortened version of the home launch formula. Anyone who doesn't do that, I mean, that's a combination of the best listing tool and the best home selling tool on the planet. Very few realtors do it. I mean, and I'll be getting into that in a minute in my notes, but the idea that you would just slap a home on the market, that you would list a $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 home, and you would just slap it on the market. I mean, put up a sign and throw it in MLS with no thought. I mean, you got to think about that. I mean, come on, that's like a loafer, a grocer, getting a case of bread and just throwing them up on the shelf. And yet that's what most realtors do. And you talk about selling, how to sell difficult listings. One of the best techniques, and I'll be talking about that today, you will ever find is to have a rock solid, amazing, fully laid out, bullet pointed. Sellers love it. They transparently and logically see. I mean, right there, when you show it to home sellers, they transparently and logically see that it increases the probability that their home will sell faster and at a higher price. And that's one of the things I'll be talking about today that you'll use to sell difficult listings, but it's also one of the things you're going to use to list those properties, to list those difficult listings to sell. So let's go to screen share today. And so there we go, bang into just a minute into screen share. And so this is how to sell difficult listings. And what I'm going to start off with here is, right there, what I'm going to start off with here is an email that I received from one of our Maverick agents in Puerto Rico. And this just came, it was either last night or this morning. I answered it this morning. But the email was, hi, Greg, can you tell me the best strategy to deal with a price decrease on a market? In other words, they're in a price decreasing market right now, a market where prices are decreasing. So I thought that might be fun to start with, because that's not the typical how to sell difficult listings, because in most parts of the US, prices are increasing and the market is robust. However, it happens. So here's my answer. Here's my email back to Evaristo. And Evaristo, I hope you're on this morning, and hope you don't mind me sharing it. I didn't think you would. He's with Remax down in Puerto Rico, and actually we coach that entire office. And I said that my best strategy for dealing with price decreasing market has been to use that as a listing tool to motivate homeowners to list with you, to sell their home before they lose any more equity. So let's start there. unbelievably powerful tool to motivate home sellers to list with you. Now, in a price increasing market, you do just the opposite. You use the price increasing as a powerful tool to get buyers to buy before the prices get any higher. So you can always, you're the middleman. You know, we in real estate, we're in the middle. We're not the buyers, we're not the sellers, we're in the middle. We just have to understand how to use the market to our advantage. And to our advantage always means to the seller's advantage, unless you're representing the buyer, and then the buyer's advantage. But I am such an advocate of being a seller's realtor, and I'll talk to you about a little more about that later on why. So here, if the market happens to be declining, you want to use that as a listing tool to motivate people to list with you. Now, you may not know this, but for those of you, other than in a few pocket areas around the country, like Beverly Hills and Manhattan, there are a few pockets like that where high price range homes are going up in value. The bottom line is, in a lot of parts of the country, high price range homes, luxury homes are actually declining slightly in value. So if you're in the luxury market, if you're in the upper price range market, do some quick stats on your market and see what luxury homes are doing. And then if they are slightly declining, as they are in many parts of the country, as more and more people opt for smaller, more compact, less expensive homes just to live, I guess, a more conservative lifestyle. The bottom line is that you can use that to motivate those sellers to get their prices down. And notice what I say here. It's a tool to motivate homeowners to price their home far enough under the market to sell before the market slides down below the current list price. Now, back in 2008, 2009, when the market was crashing, one of the big mistakes that homeowners made is they stayed on what I call down here at the top of the wave. See that right here? The top of the wave. They rode the top of the wave. So they were staying just above the market. They were staying just above the market, and the prices kept declining and their homes weren't selling. And that, of course, was happening in a dramatic sense back in 2008, 2009. But in the luxury home market right now, in many parts of the country, it's happening to a lesser degree, lesser in that the market is coming down more slowly, but still there are just a ton of sellers that are riding that top of the wave and not getting their home sold. So that if you're in any part of the country where you're dealing with luxury homes and you check it out and those prices are not increasing, but instead they're decreasing, you may be able to use that. So bottom line, it's easier to take market share and sell homes in a declining market, in my view, than in an appreciating market if you know how to leverage fear of loss with sellers. Fear of loss with sellers. You can actually convince sellers to sell their homes in a depreciating market simply because they're sitting in a bad investment and end up generating a lot more listings. So there you go there. So now let's go into the core of today's presentation. And
hey, Greg.
Yeah.
The screen that we're seeing is blank.
Oh, it's blank. Okay.
It is.
Well, I have it. So let's, thank you. I have it in night mode. So let's flip it to day mode. And now do we see it?
No, all we see is your green dot.
All you see is my green dot, huh? Okay. So let me stop screen.
It's not.
Pardon?
You're good.
Got it now?
We got it.
Okay, good. Well, sorry guys, I was trying what's known as night mode, where my screen was dark and I was showing white, but okay, so there we go. Okay, so you got it good. So let me go back here. And Jen, you've got me in the upper part of the screen, okay? Yes?
I do, but the screen goes blank.
Okay, well.
It pops up for a moment, and then it goes blank.
Okay, well then, tell you what, then I'll do it without the notes, and I'll just send people notes. Thanks for popping in there. So all you've got is me in the upper right hand of the screen, and then the screen is blank, correct? So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's just try this, guys. Everybody hold on. I'm going to stop the screen share. Now you've got me back. And tell you what I'll do. I'll just pop over here. I'll try it once more for all of you on here. See, we have a huge turnout. Sorry about the little thing here, but that stuff happens. So now let me screen share again, see if this happens to work. And if it doesn't, then we will share screen. There we go. So have we got my screen now there, Jen?
We do. That's perfect.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. Okay, and I wanted to go into presentation mode, so let's just check this. Now, do we have my screen now, Jen?
That's where we lose you.
That's where we lose me. Okay, so this is a good lesson for everybody out there. Don't try to do a webinar with Evernote in presentation mode. You have to just go to this mode right here, and I'll make this a little bigger for you guys. And Jen, you've got me okay now, and everybody can read that, right? Yes?
It seems it's gone blank again.
Okay, so sharing is paused, bring your share. Oh, there we go. So there we go. So let's try it once more, like that. And share screen. And how do we look now?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so Jen, pop back in, let me know if there are any problems. So guys, so these are strategies for selling difficult listings. We just went through that email in a declining market. So let's now, and I'm looking down at my computer, so you've got me in the upper right of the screen. So strategies for pricing home rights. Obviously, the first thing you want to do in selling difficult listings is price home right. Now, first thing I want to say to you is it's your job to convince sellers to price their home right. And, you know, I understand it's hard, but the bottom line is it's an art. And I think a lot of agents, I've seen agents walk away from listings when the seller was wacky, when the seller was going to overprice their homes. And that is such a huge mistake. You do not let price stand in the way of listing homes. I'm going to say that again. You do not let price stand in the way of listing homes. Taking overpriced listings is always better than taking no listing. And as I said, it's an art. You just like you make it an art to learn to list homes, and you make it an art to learn to sell homes. There are a lot of things you can do to make yourself better at listing homes. You know that. There are a lot of things you can do to make yourself a heck of a lot better at selling homes. And guess what? There are a lot of things you can do to make yourself a heck of a lot better at convincing sellers either before they list or after they list and overprice their home to either price it right up front or get the price down. So let's talk about those. Number one, obtain one of the best things I've ever done was to obtain what I call a maximum price appraisal before deciding on the list price. So what I would do is I would tell the sellers, look, I have an appraiser, and this appraiser is willing to do an appraisal of your home at this discounted price, and I will reimburse you for that appraisal at the closing, so you'll have no actual cost for the appraisal. So I always felt it was good to have the sellers have a little skin in the game. And then there are three different types of directions, basically, that you can give appraisers. And I think a lot of realtors may not know this. Number one is a normal market value appraisal. You can get a normal market value appraisal. That's what lenders order. Or you can get a fire sale appraisal. And that's just a term I use. But a fire sale appraisal is simply when you say to the appraiser, hey, we want to unload this home like now. What is a price? What is the highest price that we can quickly sell this home and just unload it like now? So that's what you might call a fire sale appraisal. And then there's a maximum price appraisal, and that's what I have right here on the screen. Now, the maximum price appraisal is where you say to the appraiser, given everything optimal, 0 days on the market, because time on the market is added to the price of a home, 0 days on the market, a buyer who loves it, everything optimal, what's the maximum price we could sell this home? And you tell the home sellers, please, before we decide on the list price, you have them sign the listing contract. In the space where you would normally put the list price, you just put TBD, to be decided. Or if your broker or somebody requires that you put in a list price, then just put in some price. It doesn't matter because you're not going to turn it in MLS yet. So you just put in some price. It doesn't really matter. You tell the home sellers, we'll cross that out and put in the real price once we get this appraisal back. So you've got it listed. Everything's good. Then you call your appraiser who you constantly use, who's giving you a discounted price because you're giving him a lot of business, and he gives you and the sellers this maximum price appraisal. That is a hugely valuable tool to use, number one, to get the sellers to realize that that's the most this home's ever going to sell for, because it's the most this home's ever going to appraise for. It's also a good tool to use with buyers when buyers make offers on the home, and particularly through co-brokes, to show them this appraisal. You're not going to say it's a maximum price appraisal. It's going to say it's an appraisal because it is an appraisal. And you can use that to try to get them up on price. And it's also a good tool to use with the appraiser for the lender once the buyer buys the home, to make sure that it appraises at the purchase price. So that is a good tool. I use that a lot. That was very influential to sellers. Next, make a huge deal to sellers that time on the market is added to the price of their home. So few realtors, this is a big takeaway. So few realtors, when they're trying to price homes right, really make that big a deal to sellers. I've had so many sellers over the years say to me, Greg, I don't care how long it takes to sell my home. I just want maximum price. And my response was always, yeah, you really do care. You care a lot how long it takes to sell your home, because the longer your home is on the market, particularly in MLS, where buyers can see days on the market, that is going to kill the price of your home, because same home, same price, same everything, 300 days on the market versus 3 days on the market, it is always, always, always going to sell for less. So what we have to do is focus on getting your home sold during our pre-MLS marketing period, or if we do end up putting it in MLS in that first 30 to 60 days. I mean, you know, in areas like Denver, they're going to sell right away, but that's not true in every part of the country, and that's not true in every price range. Even in Denver, upper price range homes take longer to sell. So the idea is, unless you're just popping homes off the market like that, it is critical that you make a big point to home sellers about how important it is to price their home right up front, or it is going to cost them a bundle down the road. Because a lot of realtors will say that, but they don't really tell home sellers why. And home sellers, if they put themselves in the mindset of a buyer, if they put themselves in the mindset of a buyer, they will understand that. So the next thing, emphasize your pre-MLS marketing plan. This is critical, guys. This is another big takeaway to getting homes sold right. Why is that so important? Because let's say with my 29-day home launch formula, okay, this is 29 days, an orchestrated ABC process that my Maverick agents, many of my Maverick agents around the country use. And for those who don't use that, they almost all then use the 11-day shortened version of that. So one version or the other. And the idea is, it's designed, it's not a pocket listing. This is designed, you get this out to agents. The idea though is for agents and to be able to call their buyers and say, give them an opportunity to see a home that's not yet officially on the market, that's not in MLS, that doesn't have a sign up. Buyers love that. It gets them in a higher price frame of mind. So you spread this out among all the agents in the community, that a chance to preview and show a home before it, let's say, officially comes out in MLS. This gives them a real opportunity to call their buyers and get their buyers over to see the homes and make their buyers more likely to want to buy the home. So what's the point though? The point with respect to pricing is that during this pre-MLS marketing period, when sellers see that the home's being shown and the home's being previewed and the home isn't selling or nobody's making offers, this is quantitative evidence that you can use at the end of that pre-MLS marketing period before the home goes into MLS. This is quantitative evidence you can use in order to get the price down, to convince the sellers to price the home where it should be priced before the thing goes into MLS. Does that make sense? And of course, also it's a great strategy to sell homes during that period, but it's also, as we're talking right now, a great strategy to get the sellers who are out of line on price back in line on price. Now, another thing I used to do is make a big point to my home sellers, about if you're interviewing other agents or if you have interviewed other agents. One of the unfortunate things that happens in our industry is agents so often will tell home sellers what they think the home sellers want to hear in order to get the listing, and then figure they'll just work the price down over time. And I warn home sellers about that. If you want to be smart, you will make a decision on your listing agent based on their capability, their home selling process, everything other than price, everything other than price. The biggest mistake you may make in choosing a listing agent is to choose a listing agent who simply says that they can get the home priced, they can get the home sold at a higher price than any other agent. It's an age-old game. I really made sure my home sellers were aware of that, because I was not going to play that game. There's no way, if two agents were in before me and they both had said X price and then X price plus, 5%, that I was going to say X price plus another 3%. I said it isn't going to happen. So that is important. So to point that out to home sellers. And then another thing that was really powerful, and this is big takeaway, you see right here, I'm going to highlight this for you, is get your realtor friends over, particularly during the pre-marketing period, but even if it's an MLS, get your realtor friends over to preview the home and do a price evaluation. Now, I'm going to actually stop the screen share for a minute and talk about this, because this is such a big thing. once you have a home listed, when you're struggling on price, you're struggling to get the home sellers to price their home right, besides pointing out how critical it is to not let days on the market accumulate. I think this, and probably also to point out to home sellers the advantages of this maximum price appraisal. I think the single most impactful thing I ever did, was I had a group of realtor friends, we all have that, and we worked together to help each other get our homes priced right. So few realtors do this. They don't work with other realtors to help them get their homes priced right. So what I would do is I had maybe in Paradise Valley, when I was building my luxury home brokerage over 10, 15 years, I had about 25, 30 realtors. That's all really, who I would always call right away when I got listings. And sometimes even before, I trusted them. When I was interviewing with the seller, and the seller had pretty much said they were going to list with me, I didn't even have it signed. Many of these realtors I trusted. I knew they weren't going to backdoor me and try to go in and meet with the seller and say list with me. But mainly it's after I got the homes listed, I would have these realtors come over, preview the home, and then I had this form that I had them fill out. Obviously, you can do it by MLS now, but don't. Have it still be in the written form. In most areas, you can do it by MLS, but use the written form and simply have these realtors put in what they think the home is likely to sell for. And one of the things that was really powerful, I'm going to jump back to screen share here, and Jen, you'll let me know if the screen doesn't share, if there's any glitches, is I had this price evaluation form for both buyers and agents, and it used to say, win $250, estimate the price this home will sell during my listing, closest to the final sale price wins. And I would always do that. I would keep all those forms and give $250. I mean, you can do less if you're in a lower price range market, or more if you're in a super high price range market. $250 was nothing in the price ranges I dealt in, but that really motivated other agents to really think about it. I mean, they really think about it. What would this home sell for? Because they want to win the $250. And there were times in Paradise Valley when I made that as much as $1,000. I made it $1,000 when I was dealing in the upper price range homes, and my list side commission at 2.5–3% of a $2–3 million home. I mean, we're talking $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. I mean, are you kidding me? To pay $1,000 to have to the winner to have all these price evaluation forms, and to show my sellers. The reason that was so impactful is I could show my sellers that the agents weren't BSing here. These agents were really doing their best to try to estimate the price that this home would sell for, because they could win like $1,000. That is a big takeaway. It's something every one of you should be using as a tool to help your sellers get their home priced right. Obviously, generate as many showings as you can. Again, I talked about that during the pre-MLS marketing. The more showings, even after you're in MLS, the more showings you can generate, and no offers, no sale. Quickly get people in there. That is quantitative evidence to the home seller that their home is overpriced. How do you do that, though? So I go down here, trumpet seller motivation. And the idea is, I'm going to talk about that later, so I'll hold that for just a moment. I really get into a whole little sequence here for about 5 minutes on how you use seller motivation to generate showings, even when a home is overpriced. And then also plant seeds of high price. Plant seeds of high price. Now I'm going to stop this screen share for just a minute here. I want to talk about that. One of the most impactful things I believe I did over the years was strategically. You have to have a gut. You have to kind of know when it's right to do it and when it's not. But what I would do is every so often, maybe once or twice a week, I would call my home sellers. We were always out pushing and promoting our listings, and I talk about how I did that later. And I would tell them, I'm pushing it, et cetera, but then I talk to this agent or this person or whatever, and and a lot of times we'd have showings or previews, and I would follow back up with the home seller and say to the home seller, they would be curious. We had this showing or we had this preview. What did they think? And I would always, if it were true, I would say, they really like your home. You've got a lovely home, but they just thought the price was just a bit strong, bit aggressive. And then I would say, but hey, no worries. The people say that a lot. My job is to get you the highest price in the world and just keep going. But I would plant gently, strategically, and not so much that it would appear that it was an orchestrated plan to get them to reduce their price, but I would just strategically plant those little seeds of doubt on price to, again, better equip me when I did go back in to get a price reduction to be prepared. So then I had planted those little seeds. Obviously, I had all my valuation forms where somebody could win money if they just nailed the price. And that really got me in good shape to go back in. If I had a home in MLS, once I'd gotten through the pre-marketing period, once we had decided on an MLS price, I would never let more than 30 days go by without going back into the home seller, working that 30 days, getting the home sellers, trying to get the home seller's head in the right place with respect to the right price, and then go back in. So one more thing, and then I'll go back to screen share so you can see the notes. Never, ever, ever. I have seen agents do this. I can't even believe it. Never try to get a price reduction by phone. I mean, the only time you would ever even think about that is if you have to do it, then you would if the seller is living out of town. But then you should do it like I'm doing here on video. I mean, do Zoom, do Skype, do something, do it on video so you're kind of there looking at them. Never try to do that by phone, ever. That is just craziness to do that by phone. I mean, the purpose of the phone is to make an appointment. The purpose of the phone is not to present offers, not to try to convince people to list with you, only try to convince people, obviously, to let you get in the door. And when it comes to price reductions, only to go over and sit down with the sellers, or if they're long distance, to do it by video. Okay, so back to screen share here. Here we go. Bang, bang, that. Okay, so don't ever try to obtain a price reduction by phone. Next, this is another big takeaway today, guys. So few agents do this. You should be offering a minimum 1.5% cash back rebate to buyers who buy your listings. This is an untapped gold mine. I can't believe more agents aren't doing this. Redfin's website is the most trafficked website of any real estate firm in the country because they offer approximately a 1% rebate back to buyers. Redfin has just a few thousand agents. Find big firms like Remax, Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, I think, has almost 140,000 agents. And yet Redfin's website smokes them in terms of the number of consumers that come in and look at homes there. Why? Not because Redfin's a better company, not because Redfin has a better home selling process. It's because Redfin offers 1% back, and buyers are going in there seeing if they buy through Redfin, if they can get a $4,000 check on a $400,000 close, a $400,000 home. You have got to use some kind of cash rebates as part of your marketing if it's legal in your state. And I have a 4-part fee structure. I shared it in last week's webinar. If you're not privy to that, then we'll be glad to share it with you again. Jen at realestatemaverics.com, and we'll share that with you. But this includes a component of it with a 1.5 with a buyer rebate. You can make that rebate whatever you want, but you should definitely. And come on, you're paying co-brokes 3%. What do you care if you pay a buyer like 1 or 1.5%? You're making more because it's a buyer who buys through you, not who buys co-broke. So I mean, you're doing nothing but making money. And buyer magnets, by the way, I just mentioned, with every part of a fee structure, you should have a buyer magnet, and the rebate is the buyer magnet component of the what your commission is if you sell the home. And I think every agent should charge a little bit lower commission when they sell the home as opposed to when the home sells co-broke, because their costs are lower even if they have a rebate. That's up to you, but that's what I think, because I think so many fee structures are such that they're just not fairly designed. By the way, it's legal in 40 states to do that. Here they are. Check out the Justice Department website. Just Google Justice Department real estate buyer rebates. You will see how the Justice Department is pushing hard to get every state to do it. Here are the states right now that don't allow it right here. I just marked them. Well, that's not working. Tried to mark them, and there's the little URL just came up. So bottom line is Iowa has a weird rule. They prohibit rebates when the consumers use the services of 2 or more real estate brokers during a transaction. So that means you couldn't do a rebate, I guess, if it's a co-broke sale or something. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. Crazy rule. Okay, next. Seller motivation, because I'm going to be running like 5 minutes long here, and I apologize for that. Seller motivation to generate showings. I talked about that earlier. The bottom line is, to me, I told you seller motivation was one of my biggest aces in the hole. I made a big deal to sellers about how if they would let me use their motivation for selling, that this was hugely impactful to attract buyers and realtors to show the home. And I'll just cut to it. The thing I pointed out to them is if they were okay with me sharing whatever it was, the reason for selling, I don't know if it was maybe they were relocated, maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's financial, who knows what it is. Sometimes they were reluctant, and I told them this will get you more money for your home because every buyer wants to see homes with motivated sellers. And if you can back it up, I say it right here, with a factual why. The why they're motivated. It's one thing to say they're motivated. It's another thing to back it up with a factual why. And of course you need seller permission, But understand, this is to get people in the door. Now look down here. What you do is you use seller motivation to get realtors to show it, to get buyers to want to see it. That's what's so important. And the idea is the sellers will say to you then, I'll say, but Greg, isn't this going to be like blood in the water? Isn't this going to motivate people to want to make a low offer, to make a low ball offer? And I say, not if it's presented right, not if it's presented intelligently, because the way you present seller motivation is, you can't even believe what an amazing list price is. Is this why the seller's price is so low? You've got to come over and look at this home. Oh my God, you know, they're moving out of town and they have to sell. They found another home and they're dying to sell this. They're going to give this away just so they don't lose that other home. Whatever it is, whatever's true, you build that up and you say, that's why they price is so low. And you understand no realtor can really know a home is priced right, or buyers can't until they get in the door. Then once they're in the door, you sell non-obvious attributes. I've got a whole webinar on that where I talk about how to sell non-obvious attributes in order to reinforce in people's mind the fact that a home is worth more than they would just at first blush see. So that's a whole nother webinar. But the bottom line is you use seller motivation to generate showings. And I drop into these notes right here. That's right here. A number of ad titles I used to use with seller permission. I'm not going to run through them other than some of them are kind of fun. The wolves are howling, fire sale. You know, obviously I meant fire sale as to they need to sell quickly. But we'd get buyers sometimes that would call. We would, fire sale, must sell immediately. All this stuff. We had buyers sometimes call and say, how bad was the fire? How bad is the damage? Of course, it wasn't at all. In any case, drop those into their notes. And we're going to finish up, so we're not running too much long here, with the 10+10 rule. And the 10+10 rule is, and this is a big takeaway. I'm going to just pop out of that, and then I'll run through all the takeaways with you here. Let me get out of screen share. That is so important that you actually see me. Okay, so when you're promoting homes to other realtors, what Roseanne and I used to do, and then our team, is the 10+10 simply means you send 10, in today's world, emails to realtors and then follow up with those realtors with 10 calls. 10+10, 10+10, always promoting homes. And we made it a point, minimum every day, with every home we had listed, to do 10+10 one time. So we'd email 10 realtors or text 10 realtors and then call those 10 realtors and see if they got it. Most of them hadn't even looked at it. Tell them we'd sent the information, and then talk up seller motivation. Now, here's the takeaway to this. With realtors, what they care about most isn't the magnificence of the home. What they care about is the ease of earning a commission. So with a buyer, you're going to talk about what a good buy it is and what an amazing home it is. With a realtor, you're going to talk about what a good buy it is and how easy it'll be for them to earn a co-broke commission. That's what they care about. So that's what you want to emphasize, is the ease of earning a co-broke commission. You know, what's the biggest problem that realtors have? They want to earn more, make more sales, earn more commission. So you address that problem. Buyers want to get a good buy, amazing home at a great price. Realtors want to find their buyers amazing value so they can make a quick sale and get rid of that buyer and move on to the next one. So that's what you're always emphasizing with realtors. Okay, so let me pop back to screen share and do a quick summary of where we are. I'm going to tell you a quick story, and then we're going to try to end you no more than like 6-7 minutes late. So takeaways: use a declining market to motivate sellers, a rising market to motivate buyers. Again, for those of you who came in late to the webinar, all my notes are available. You can email Jen, J-E-N-N, at realestatemaverics.com. Have these notes so you've got everything I've said right in front of you. Don't let price stand in the way of listing homes. It's an art to talk sellers into pricing their home right, or at least getting the home, home reduced once you've listed it if you can't get it priced right up front. So learn that art. Just like it's an art to list homes, it's an art to sell homes, it's an art to talk sellers down on price. Learn the art, as I say here, convincing sellers to price their home right. Use pre-MLS marketing to price homes right. It's quantitative evidence before a home goes in MLS. I mean, that alone is a reason why home sellers ought to want you to do pre-MLS marketing, just to get a feel on price so they don't make an MLS mistake and track days on the market and have that cost them money out of pocket. Use a max price appraisal. I talked about that to get there right. Emphasize that they make a big deal about how days on the market, particularly MLS, is going to destroy the price of a home. Use the $250 contest form I mentioned. Constantly plant seeds of high price. Constantly plant seeds of high price. I talked about that. Don't do price reductions by phone. Even if they're out of town, do them by video. Use buyer rebates as a buyer magnet. That's the big gold mine, untapped gold mine that so many realtors are missing right now. Redfin is using it amazingly. Why aren't you? If you're in one of the 40 states where it's legal, and if you're in one of the 10 states it's not, you need to be talking to your Department of Real Estate and telling them they're Looney Tunes. and the Justice Department wants them to do it, you want them to do it, they ought to do it. It's not up to them to make that kind of a stupid decision. And then use seller motivation backed by a factual why. A factual why. What is that seller motivation? Not just that they're motivated, but why. Make sellers understand that the seller motivation is designed not to generate offers that are below list price, but to justify the list price. This is a biggie. Make sellers understand that the seller motivation message is designed to justify their amazing list price to get people in the door. That is so important, as opposed to, oh my gosh, I'm afraid it's going to cause everybody to offer way below the list price. Not if it's used properly. And then be prepared to sell the peripherals once buyers are in the door. You know, the peripherals, I talked about that. All the other reasons, like the neighborhood, et cetera, why this, the neighbors, why this is an amazing home and an amazing value. So whatever that list price is, if when people are in the door, they say, oh, that seems a little pricey, you start justifying it other than just the home, which they can see in front of them. When promoting homes to agents, emphasize the commission opportunity, not the home. And whatever you do, don't charge 6%. My new Huffington Post article should be coming out today or tomorrow, and it says to consumers why you should never list. You guys are going to hate this, but you hate it because you need to just suck this up and listen to what I'm going to say here. I'm going to go off of screen share here. Those of you that are willing to hang on for another 2 or 3 minutes, you need to hear this message. Okay. The last thing in the world, I talked about this in the last webinar, you want to do is charge 6%. Why? I'm not saying charge more. Charge less, charge different. Just don't charge 6%. 6% is like, it just shows that you haven't given any real thought to your commission structure. You're just one of the herd. Nobody could possibly say that in every circumstance, you list a home, the next day, the home sellers happen to be having lunch with their friends, and the friends say, oh my gosh, your home's for sale. I've always wanted that home. And the home sellers say, well, here, contact our agent. And they do, and they buy it that day. So you've had it one day. Should you charge 6% then? Come on, that's not fair. There's so many circumstances. Co-broke sale, not co-broke sale, a sale right away, a sale that takes forever. Bottom line is you have an intelligent fee structure, and not just opt to the 6%. So I talked about that in the last webinar. By the way, if you'd like a link to last week's webinar, you can get that again, Jen, J-E-N-N, at realestatemaverics.com. So I'm going to finish with a 2-minute story, and it is the difference and the why, the difference and the why. So when I was a kid, I maybe 12 years old, my dad asked me if I wanted to drive up the road and see Cash Ambergy, K-A-S-H Ambergy. You can Google him. He was formerly a preacher and Bible salesman. He styled himself the world's greatest Bible salesman. And he proved it by going out and selling like 250 good books, I think, in 3 days. In any case, he decided that being a preacher and selling Bibles was not maybe his life calling, the most profitable thing he could do. So guess what he did? He opened a carpet and appliance store in a little town 35 miles north of Cincinnati, Ohio, called Lebanon, Ohio. Now, there's really nothing in Lebanon other than a beautiful little inn called the Golden Lamb that has an amazing restaurant and an ice cream shop and a few other stores. Why in the world would anybody open a carpet and appliance store 35 miles up the road and then try to attract Cincinnati people 35 miles up the road? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, why? There's 100 places you could buy carpet and appliances in Cincinnati. Well, let me tell you why. The reason why is because Cash understood what most business people don't. And this really goes to one of the big points I made today about seller motivation and having a factual why. But this also threads through to you, your real estate practice, your process for selling homes, your fee structure, with every single component of how you sell homes, how you charge to sell homes, how you motivate sellers. With every component of that, you must have what I call a why that your clients can see makes sense and is the reason why that works. So let me give you an example. So with Cash Ambergy, what he did was he opened his carpet and appliance store 35 miles up the road in a barn in Lebanon, Ohio, so he could market into the Cincinnati, Ohio market that, hey, this is Cash Ambergy up at Cash's Bargain Barn in South Lebanon, Ohio. You looking for an amazing deal on carpet and appliances? Come on up, 35 miles, scenic ride on a Saturday, and guess what? I'm up here in Lebanon. I have no costs. They about gave me this barn. They want you fine folks from Cincinnati up here. So I can sell for less because I pay less because my costs are less, save a bundle, come up and buy from Cash Ambergy at Cash's Bargain Barn. They would always finish by saying, take it from Cash Ambergy. I don't care about making money. I just love to sell carpet. He became a multimillionaire. He became a multimillionaire by just understanding that he gave everybody in Cincinnati, all the carpet and appliance stores were simply saying the same basic thing. We can sell for less. We can, buy here, come here, we sell for less. Nobody believes it because everybody says it. And unfortunately, in carpet and appliances, it's really about the only way that you can compete because you're buying the same stuff. You really have no differentiation and there's no big service component to it. We don't have to deal with that in real estate as much as they do there. But my point is, he had a factual why. So I call it the difference, having a difference and then having a why, not a why you're doing it, but a why that your clients, a why that the consumers can see you're doing it. And that's why home launch formulas work so well, pre-MLS home launch formulas. It's logical, it's transparent. The why is just obvious. Seller motivation, having a factual why with seller motivation makes it that much more powerful. So think about Cash Ambergy. Google him, by the way, if you want to hear, Google Cash Ambergy on YouTube and Cash Ambergy commercials, and you hear some of his amazing commercials. I don't imitate him worth a hoot, but bottom line is, that is a big lesson. That made me millions in real estate, understanding that everything I did to try to think it through and have some kind of a why where people could see, home buyers, and this is the big message, home buyers or home sellers could see that what I was saying, why a home was a good deal, why my pre-marketing worked, why you should price your home right. I always had some tangible why, something factual that people could see that made it logical and transparent that I was right, that made it logical and made it transparent that I was right. That was a huge, 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 huge money machine for me over the years. So thank you guys for tuning in today. We'll do another webinar next Wednesday. Before you leave, if you'd like the notes from today or you'd like a link to last week's webinar, email Jen, Jenn at realestatemaverics.com. For those of you who are in my coaching, I salute the Maverick in you. For those of you who aren't in my coaching, if you'd like to learn more, just go to realestatemaverics.com and sign up. We'll do a little Q&A with you. And well, with that, I will say, you guys, you have an amazing day. And well, what can I say other than, is there a Maverick in you? Bye-bye.